Twice. Let's go. No need. Wait. So let's look at the damage again. Hello and welcome. Today we're gonna be going through the maximum possible damage you can make with a melee sneak attack. Snake. I'm a snake.
Snake. I'm a snake.
Anyway, snake attack in the game. So this is a build that is going to be greatly using damage carriers, damage riders, all of that, and I will explain it in a very neat form. Also, shout out to Ethan for making a video about, and he had a really good idea with how to demonstrate this with a tree. So I'm gonna be going through that. But effectively what this build is 5 levels of ranger. You don't need 5, you only need 3, but if you want to do an extra attack, then you need 5 levels. Then it's 2 levels of paladin for the smite, 1 level of rogue for the sneak, 2 levels of sorcerer for the infinite spell slots. If you want to be using that, you don't have to. And 2 levels of druid for the extra 1d6 necrotic damage when you are in symbiotic entity. So let's explain what a damage rider and what a damage source is, right? It's effectively a damage rider is something that is dealt whenever you deal damage. But a damage rider, a damage carrier, is what drives the damage. So an attack with your weapon will increase your damage by, let's say, Arcane Synergy or Hunter's Mark, right? But Falara Luv, whenever it's procced, it will also trigger extra damage. So there is a really cool wiki page talking about all the possible items, and effectively this comes from the code of the game. Let me show you. Maybe you don't want me to talk about the code, but effectively it breaks it, the way it's coded into the game. When there's damage bonus is triggered every time, deal damage is something like the deal damage function triggers the damage bonus, and the weapon damage is different. Basically it's only for weapon attacks. So deal damage, damage bonus, and weapon damage work differently. I'll link this in the comments, but effectively what you need to know is that some items can be used to carry over the damaging effects of other items, right? Or abilities. So if you enjoy the content and you like it and you want to see more, drop a comment. Let me know if you want to see more of this type of videos. This is a crazy build that is doing over 1000 damage if you use Perilous Stakes as well. And it can do a lot of attacks, but I mainly focus this for the max damage for a sneak attack. You don't have to be doing a sneak attack. Yeah, just let me know if you want to see more of this. I definitely want to make more of it because it gets crazy after a while. And yeah, let me just show you what I mean. So this is a type of damage you should be expecting to deal with just one attack. It's kind of crazy. So just to showcase the damage, right? How this works, we're gonna start with only a dagger and 2 items. The caustic band and the callous glow ring, they are considered damage riders. So what they do whenever you deal damage, they apply to acid or radiant damage. So what are we gonna do? Just to test this and see and showcase how it works, we'll do 1 stab, and as you can see, we dealt 5 damage, 2 acid, 2 radiant, but then again we use the sneak attack automatically. So if the sneak attack is triggered as an automatic reaction, it will reapply those damage carriers, right? But as we saw, the callous glow ring damage was reapplied, but the caustic band wasn't reapplied. Why? Because this wasn't a weapon attack, it was a sneak attack. Let's also add now the Stalker gloves in the mix, right? This will deal extra force damage, but we don't really care about that. What we care about is that these gloves, whenever you proc your sneak, they will also, this force damage will also act as a damage source instead of a damage rider. So they are also a carrier, because they are carried by your sneak attacks, but they also carry the other effects as well. So right now, effectively what should happen is we should get the damage of the dagger once, which will proc everything once. Then then sneak attack will be procced. So these two will be applied again. However, strange conduit ring won't work because it's only for weapon damage. And then these gloves will be triggered by the sneak attack, which will also proc these carriers again. Let's do it again. Primary attack deals Colossus damage, plus 6 conduit damage, plus 2 radiant. And then the sneak procs, which does additional 1d6 times 2 because it's a critical, plus 2 radiant. And then the Stalker gloves proc, which also carry the damage carriers with it again. So as you see, we're stacking up right now. Now, this weapon that I'm holding, Assassin's Touch, what happens here is that if the enemy is asleep or knocked out, when you do this, you get another effect of the damage carrier. I'm not certain if it will proc the Strange Conduit ring. So, just to make it more obvious, let's use the Cold Streak Band because it's just 2 acid damage. So whenever we see 2 acid damage, we know exactly it's from this damage rider. No need to... Okay, so what happened here? 13 damage, because it's a critical because he was asleep. 2 acid damage from the ring. Then 2 from the Callous Glow ring, the other rider. Then we have 6 damage from the Deathly Slumber, which also activates the damage riders again. Right? This is from the effect of the weapon because the enemy was asleep. So the weapon effectively procced our damage riders twice. Then we have the sneak attack being procced, which procced another damage rider, and then the Stalker gloves procced, which again procced the damage rider. So we got 4 activations right now. Now, what else can we do? The Boots of Stormy Clamor. So whenever we inflict a condition, we're gonna go through the build. We're gonna get all the damage carriers and riders. So the sneak damage is 1 carrier. Stalker gloves is the other carrier. Assassin's Touch, another carrier. Dolor Amarus, yes. Valar Aloof, yes. Colossus Slayer, yes. Paladin Smite, yes. So let's go through everything right now. Let's build all the sources and all the riders, and let's see how crazy this can get. Get some 2 Paladin levels. Now, I'm gonna do the dueling Paladin thing, where you can do a double attack for just 1 attack. So effectively what you need to do about that is to be holding dual daggers and then pick the dueling feat. 3 levels in Ranger. However, we're gonna get 5 just for the extra attack. Why do we want 3 levels of Ranger? Because if you go for Hunter and you pick Colossus Slayer, this is actually another damage source. Savage Attacker to increase the damage. Right? This is actually a really good feat to get in this situation. Then we have 5 levels of Ranger, 2 levels of Sorcerer, 1 level of Rogue. So what is left? Well, here you can either get 2 more levels of Rogue for the extra bonus action. I want to try out the Druid Spores subclass because it also gives you 1d6 extra damage. And that extra 1d6 damage might actually work differently, so I'm also testing. However, Symbiotic Entity, yeah, this is the ability that's going to give you the extra 1d6 necrotic damage. I want to test this out, but definitely go for the Rogue if you want to. And that's a build. Yeah. So let's see how that goes. Okay, and that was a level 1 smite, by the way. So let's make sense of this. 32 piercing damage, which was Elixir of the Colossus, plus Arcane Synergy, plus Hunter's Mark, plus Dolor Amarus, because it was a crit. Then we have the Cold Streak Band weapon damage, 10 necrotic damage from the Druid Symbiotic Entity. Then we have the Callous Glow ring. Then we have the Smite damage, which also procced Dolor Amarus and the Callous Glow ring. I don't know why. And then he also took damage from the Deathly Slumber, which also procced which actually procced twice Oh my god, this is getting crazy. So effectively, Deathly Slumber was reapplied by Colossus Slayer. So Deathly Slumber was applied once by our main attack, and then it was reapplied by Colossus Slayer, which also applied the Callous Glorying and the extra damage and from the druid. So 37 damage from the same action attack, by the way, from the Divine Smite, plus 2 acid damage from the Callous Glorying, plus 12 from the druid ability, then 2 from the Callous Glorying, then the sneak damage would also proc Dolor Amarus. So Dolor Amarus was added twice, right? Yes. Both in the smite and in the physical damage of the weapon. And then sneak attack was procced, which procced more of our damage carriers. And yeah, this is effectively what's happening right now. It's kind of crazy, really. This is how it works, and we just used a level 1 smite. Okay, so we're ready, guys. We're ready. Let's go through our sources once and then our riders once. Okay, so our sources are the Crater Fresh Gloves, Assassin's Touch, Falara Luv, Colossus Slayer, Sneak Attack, Smite, and our riders are Coldstreak Band, Callous Glorying, Crater Flesh Gloves, the Sport Keeper armor, but you can wear whichever armor you want, Arcane Synergy DM, then Dolor Amarus damage as well, and we also have Hunter's Mark, Psionic Overload, and Inquisitor's Might, and Elixir of the Colossus. So, and Symbiotic Entity. So, I'm going to use a level 1 spell slot this time, just so that I can see all the procs. Yes. So that was a level 1 smite, and it did 350 damage. So let's see what happened. Okay, so I have 28 piercing damage, with a lot of things happening, all of the buffs, all the riders on it, and the 2 acid damage for the weapon attacks, 7 necrotic damage, which added damage from the armor, and we have 5 radiant from the Inquisitor's Might, which also carried the Callous Glorying, which is cool to know. Every radiant damage also adds that. Then we have the Psionic Overload damage being carried by the regular attack, and then we move into the Smite. The Smite carried over the psychic damage from the Psionic Overload, the Craterfish Glove, and it procced the Craterous Wounds, which also carried the Psionic Overload and the Callous Glory. Then this bracket closes, and we have Colossus Slayer being procced by the Smite, which also dealt psychic damage and radiant damage and Falara Luv damage. But Falara Luv caused psychic damage and radiant damage, and because it crit, it also caused Craterous Wounds, so the Craterfish Gloves, which again dealt the psychic damage from our carrier, from the Psionic Overload, and 2 radiant damage for the Callous Glow. And then, from the regular attack, because it was a critical, we got Craterous Wounds again, and we also got Falara Luv. So that's what happened. This is the first attack, and this is the end of the attack, and this is the Smite, proccing the rest. So I'm gonna have a diagram on screen because this is going crazy. But then we have the sneak damage, and the sneak damage procced the damage riders. But because it was a critical, it also procced Craterous Wounds, and it also procced Falara Luv damage. And of course, whenever we're getting a damage carrier, we also get the damage riders below it. And then we have damage carrier from Falara Luv, which also, as you can see, every damage rider also gets damage from Dolor Amarus. This is amazing. It's an amazing weapon to have on your offhand. Okay, moment of truth, level 4 Smite. Open the chat log. You ready? Let's go. And it's fun because she's also getting conditions. Wait. So let's look at the damage again. Okay, so just to showcase how this works, so this is a So this is the damage diagram. Each attack, which procs twice, by the way, but we'll talk about this. So this is the first attack, let's say. The first attack will proc all of these damage carriers, which is Symbiotic Entity, Callous Gloating, Caustic Bound, Dolor Amarus, Arcane Synergy, Hunter's Mark, and Psionic Overload. Then it will also proc Falar Aluf. However, it will also be accompanied by Smite, right? We'll get to the Smite in a bit. It will also proc the gloves once, because it's a critical, and it will also proc a Sneak Die and Divine Smite. Now, Divine Smite will proc Colossus Slayer, which will itself proc these 3 damage carriers, Dolor Amarus, Callous Gloating, and Psionic Overlord. Same for Falar Aluf as we saw before, and the same as the gloves. And it will also trigger the damage riders once on its own. Then we have the sneak damage, which will also proc the gloves and Falar Aluf, and it will also proc all of these things once. Now, the second effect of the dagger didn't activate because the enemy woke up by the time the smite occurred. So unfortunately, this didn't work out very well for us. So you can use a different dagger. Or use 2 Dolor Amarus. I would definitely do that. There is a second one in the game. You don't need mods for it. So this is how the first attack works. The second attack doesn't have the sneak attack under it. So this is the only difference. And every attack that you do, I'm also thinking of a few more builds that I can use this on. Dual wielding. If you want to see more of it, please let me know in the comments. If you don't want to see more of it, also let me know in the comments, because I will know whether I should or not make more videos about. If you like the video, guys, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.